How are you, sir?
Well,
Good to see you.
we'll go ahead and open the meeting. Get the town clerk to read the items on the consent agenda, please.
Letter A, Board of Aldermen meeting minutes, October the 4th, 2021. The agenda session minutes, October 12th, 2021. the regular meeting minutes. Letter B, planning board appointment.
Have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Fire chief retirement. Mr. Roden?
Thank you, Chita. Come on up, Alva.
Okay.
I thought we were here to deny this.
Yeah.
Oh, there has to be a motion on the floor first, so whatever you're. Retirements are always a sad time, at least for the people you leave behind. Alva has a long and storied career in fire service. Starting when he was a volunteer at 17, stints in Burlington and here in Elon, working as a fire marshal's office in Alamance County, and then back here at Elon for the last 7 years.
2015, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so 6 years. Has seen this department grow from a private fire company to a fully staffed, well, 24-hour staffed, full-time fire department. An old station been renovated and a new station been built and new equipment. And Alva's had an instrumental role in all that over the years. And Alva, it is certainly with regret. And the town, professionally for me, I found you have been a valuable resource and a person to work with and a good friend. So on behalf of the town, I'd just like to present you with just an honorarium marking your career with the town of Elon and back for all the initiatives.
It's been bittersweet. I told my wife the other night, I said, I'm gonna get up December the 1st. I reckon the first time in my life, I won't have a job to go to.
There'll probably be a call up in your volunteer station.
Yeah. But it's really, the pleasure's been mine. The town of Elon has been nothing but, I'll tell anybody that. The town of Elon has been nothing but good to me and my family. And you've got a lot of good people. It's not me, it's the people down there that make me. You got a lot of good folks down there. And it's a good department. It always has been. I love each and every one of them. Nothing I wouldn't do for any of them. I had a good career. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change anything. So certainly appreciate it.
Did you get a fire extinguisher?
A little toy fire truck. No. Here's a little plaque. Yes, yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Got another special recognition tonight. Mr. Gantos, can you and Sherry come up here?
Oh.
You came for Alpha. I came for you.
Most of us know Chuck has had such a wonderful relationship with this town, with the board. He is the longest serving board member in the history of this town. And he also served down at the fire station, volunteer. I think you were assistant chief for 20 years. And on the board, he was here when we purchased the land for Beth Smith Park. And he's the one that pushed the board to do that. There was a lot of reluctance on that thing. And he also did so many wonderful things here. And we appreciate it. And Chuck, what this board decided to do is to name the lounge in the fire station, Station 8, in your honor. Fire Department, a few serving many. The Chuck Gantos Station Lounge. The lounge at Station 8 is dedicated to Chuck Gantos, who served the Elon Fire Department and volunteer board of directors for 20 years. During his tenure, Chuck served as assistant chief and president of the fire board, in addition to serving on the board of aldermen from 1979 to 2001. He was instrumental in securing training facilities and the purchase of fire vehicles and providing the management of our financial records. Chuck,
Thank you.
congratulations. We'll need to keep this to put up in the lounge. Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you did.
Delicious, sir.
The annual audit review. Do we have somebody online making that presentation?
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for allowing me to be here and for the last minute change to Zoom. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor Tolley and Board of Aldermen for the opportunity to do the audit. We appreciate that. You have a choice on who your auditor is, and we appreciate you allowing us that opportunity. I want to start by saying that you had an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion that you can get. I also wanted to remind you that an audit, the audit that we do is an internal control audit. We're looking for controls, making sure you have the right ones in place and that they're operating the way they should. We're not doing a fraud audit. If we were doing a fraud audit, we would be looking at every transaction, which would take forever, as you can imagine. And so it's not a fraud audit. It's looking at your controls and making sure that they are operating the way you as a board would expect them to and having the right ones in place. And so we did not find any issues that caused us to believe that your system of capturing data was not accurately capturing all the information and activity of the town. And then, of course, it's presented here for you all to be able to review. And so you have a summary, a financial statement summary that I wanted to just hit the highlights for. The top of this summary are a narrative of what I'm going to go over in the chart. The one item that's the biggest point of interest on this chart is your total net assets. If you look at the 2021 total, it's 23, almost 24 million. That is what your total net position is. That includes 15 million from the general fund and 8.8 million from the water sewer stormwater fund. Now, this number includes all your capital assets, all your infrastructure, all your streets, all your sidewalks, all your fire trucks, all of your police vehicles. It includes all of your capital assets. That's almost 13 million. So that is over 50% of your total net position. Also includes your debt, which is 3.5 million. So you don't have a tremendous amount of debt. Most of that is retirement, future retirement debt that you will have to pay. And so 15 million in the general fund and 8.8 million in the water, sewer, and stormwater fund. Now, this is full accrual. Capital assets are included, debt is included. When you think about the budgetary basis, what you look at on a month-to-month basis, your total fund balances are 9 million. And that difference is the capital assets and the debt. You subtract that off and you come back to 9 million. And so your fund balance that you're operating with is 9 million. Now, one of the things that we look at when we're evaluating how your fund balance is, how strong it is, we look at what percentage of your general fund expenditures your of unreserved fund balance is, and yours is 102%. The requirement is 8%. So you're significantly more than what your requirement is. And so that's very strong. Last point there is that your total outstanding debt decreased by 77,000. And this is just to kind of alert you to what's happened in your debt. You don't have any new debt and all you're doing right now is making payments. And so that was 77,000. Now, I will tell you the other item of interest is your cash, 14 million, almost 14 million in your cash. And that's a pretty substantial increase over last year, 2.2 million. So, one of the things that the budget does is it evaluates, what money you have coming in, what money you're spending. And so that cash, of course, is a big piece of that consideration. So very strong financial position for the town of Elon. If you look at page two again, you have a chart of all of these, the revenue and expenditures. And if you look again at the next to last column on the right for 2021, your revenues over expenses is 2 million, 1.5 million for the general fund and $500,000 for the water and sewer fund. If you look over at the top, you'll see that their revenue categories, as you go down and compare the 2 years, your property taxes went up by $200,000. And so I look at the value. I always like to know why that went up. Did it go up because of the rate? Did it go up because of the value? You actually had an increase in your value of 43 million. Your total value is 662 million. So very strong. That's a 7% increase in the value of the property in Elon. And so that accounts for a whole lot of about 150,000 of the increase is property and 500,000 is the vehicles. So a good strong increase in your tax revenue. The other taxes is mostly your local option sales tax. You had a $557,000 increase in your local option sales tax. Now, this was a full COVID year. And so we really didn't know what to expect in a full COVID year. Would we have decreases? At the end of last year, we saw decreases. And so we really didn't know what to expect going forward into this fiscal year. And so what this tells me, and this is what I've seen consistent with most of my governmental units, is that we found a way to spend money, even if we couldn't go out. We kept spending and we changed the way that we functioned and bought online. I mean, that's basically what we did. And so I'm been very happy to see this increase in the local option sales tax. So your total revenue went up by 757,000, which is 9%. So again, that includes 141,000 in the coronavirus relief fund. So a little bit of stimulus money, but for the most part, that is the local option sales tax. So again, very strong in the increase in revenue. So if I go on down this page, you'll see the expenditures. Your expenditures were an increase of 3.7%. So not a huge fluctuation in your expenditures, and really looking at this year to last year, they were pretty consistent between the 2 years on where the money was spent. So these increases are kind of spread out through all these categories. So that yields again a $1.5 million increase in revenue over expenditure compared to last year of $1 million. So we again see a good trend there, a good increase in that a net position. So if you look at the two middle columns, this is your water and sewer fund and your stormwater fund. You had an increase in your charges for service of 173,000. You had a 6% increase in rates, and so that's really close to what that increase is. So that's again a good increase in your revenue, your charges there. And if you go on down to the expenditures, your expenditures again were mostly flat, $277,000 increase, which is 8%. So not a tremendous increase in the expenditures, but all of the expenditures were within budget. So the changes are what you would have expected to see. And so that's one of the things that we always want to look at is how did you fall within budget? And so you were definitely within the budget on all your expenditures. So again, that yields the $2 million increase for the year. And so again, it really spoke to your management of the expenditures. I feel like that was one of the big things that all the units had to do was look at what they were spending, where they were spending, delay projects, manage projects in the best way for the unit so that you could deal with a decrease in the local option sales tax if that's what happened. Nice to say that that's not what happened. And so it did help us as we went through the year to kind of feel a little more freedom in doing the things, spending the money where it needed to be spent. So the numbers look very good, very strong, and very pleased to see how well the town did with their activity for the year. If you look at page three is your capital assets, and you did have a pretty significant amount of purchases, about $750,000 between the general fund and the water, sewer, stormwater funds. And then, of course, the other offset is depreciation, a pretty large amount in depreciation there. So the change between this year and last year was very flat, and that's because of the depreciation there. So the numbers look really good. The information on page 4 is just more details that come back to page 1, the summary on page 1. And so feel free to look at those details. And again, the biggest thing here is the cash and the increase in the unrestricted. You know, if you have a fund balance that has restrictions, all the money's restricted, it doesn't really allow you to do all the things that you need to do. And so you have a good increase in your unrestricted. We always like to look at that trend, and that is positive on both of your funds. So that detailed information, you can look at that if you would like to. So the numbers all look very good. We did not have any findings. And so again, what we look at when we're doing that audit is controls. And the one thing that I tell most of my boards is 2 sets of eyes. That's what's going to help strengthen your control. So whatever you're doing, if you can have 2 sets of eyes on the checks, on the payroll, on the any cash that comes in, if you can have 2 sets of eyes on that, and just have somebody review and approve what's being done, that's going to give you a whole lot less risk. That's going to be a whole lot less risky when you're looking at the activity, any activity that's going on in the town. And so we've looked at the controls and feel like you have good controls in place. And so that is the main thing that we're looking at is making sure those controls are good and that they're operating the way that you want them to. Worst thing in the world is to have a control that people ignore. And so we did not find that to be the case, did not find any instances of fraud or suspected fraud or we didn't have any difficulties with the audit. You also have a letter there that just states that we audited under generally accepted auditing standards as required and that we followed all the guidelines. We have a good local government commission that gives us a lot of resources. And so we follow those very, very closely. And we look at the journal entries if we have them, but we didn't have any. So that looks good. That means that we didn't have to correct anything. And so there are no issues in that regard either. So everything went very well. And we appreciate, of course, the assistance from Patricia as she provided a lot of information to us, but also Misty and her team as we go through the audit process. We appreciate the help that we receive from everybody that's involved in that. So that's everything. It looks very good. The numbers look very good, very strong. And I think going forward, it's only going to look better as we continue to hopefully recover from COVID. It seems like every time we take a few steps forward, we take steps backwards, but hopefully things will continue to move forward and we'll see good, strong recoveries in the activity and some changes in how we do things, but that also can be a good thing, good opportunity. So I'll be glad to answer any questions if you all have any.
Any questions from board members? I'd entertain a motion to receive the audit. Yes.
Can I have an opportunity to just make a quick comment
Yes.
before you go to motion? Becky, Patricia, thank you. It's always good to hear we've done a good job. And having been involved in a couple of communities over my career, it has been very obvious to me that this town does a very good job with its finances. She will forever be mad at me, but I'll say that is largely due to our finance director, Misty Haygood. The words I use to describe her when she won't let me do what I want to do aren't always polite, but she has instituted very strong system of controls with me, with previous managers, with the boards to preserve the integrity of the finances of Elon. And I will also say that, you know, this is a very good note for her to be changing jobs on. As you all know, she's leaving at the end of the month. So we will certainly miss her expertise, her talent, and her dedication to the town and its residents when it comes to our finances. And my hope is that we can find someone who's at 80% of what she is, and we'll still be in great shape. So thank you very much, Misty.
Do I have a motion to receive the audit report? Do we have a second? I second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Public comments. Are there any citizens in-house or online who would like to make any comments to this board about their wishes or concerns for the town?
I do.
James? State your name and where you live.
James Chanis and 705 Wagner Road in Elon. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to know, since the town has changed their billing from every 2 months to 1 month. In September, I mailed the check for my solid waste. I don't pay for water. I just pay for solid waste. I mailed it on the 20th, allowing 10 calendar days to get from across the street to here. Well, it was actually through the credit union. They mailed it on the 20th. It was to be received on the 24th, which is Monday to Friday. Acceptable, okay? Because you still have a few days. I paid no attention to that because I figured that it was in. Then I got a bill on 10/1, mailed 10/1, didn't get it till the 11th of October. And it indicated that I had to pay not only the original fee, but a fine for not getting it on time. According to the town clerk, they got that on the 4th of October, the check. I can't be responsible for the post office. I brought that to the attention of the town clerk. And I said, I have documents saying that when it was sent out. And, you know, yes, I was told I could give a blank check and they take it out the 12th of every month. But if you're going to have a bill sent out on the 1st and demand to have it back by the 15th, that's not going to cut it. Because I got this bill for 10/1 on 10/11. There's no way unless I drive up here and drop it off in the drop box. That's not acceptable because I can do it. But there are, I'm sure, other town residents who are infirm, maybe, and cannot, maybe not drive. You can't depend on the post office. And I think that the town should rethink that and possibly have the payment due by the end of the month, not the 15th. There's no way, if you mail it out on the 1st, that you're going to get it back by the 15th, other than dropping it off here. And I think that's unacceptable. I've lived here for 45 years. You lived on Cortland Avenue. Chuck lived on Orange Drive. I'm in the same house. So I've had 4 addresses to that house. I haven't moved. But I don't think that this town should have this 15-day ultimatum. I'd like to know what the board thinks about that.
Mr. Rodner, can you update Mr. Danis and the board on the action we have taken with our billing? It has been a problem. You say what we've done to try to alleviate that.
We use a vendor who mails out our bills for us, and we have historically sent them all the paperwork last day or 2 of the month, and the bills go out on the 1st. What we have done, and that's the process we followed for the October 1st bill. We recognize, I mean, I didn't get my bill till that Saturday as well. So what we have what we've done is rather than waiting till the last day or two of the month, to send out information to our vendor, we're sending out as soon as we can get it ready. This month, we sent it on the 26th or 27th, I believe. And they mailed it out, I believe, that same day or the next day. That was midweek. I had mine by that weekend. So I did better this month. And the post office did better this month. As we're moving into this transitional monthly billing, we on sewer and water, we were not charging people late fees. I'm surprised to hear you got a late fee, but you said it was just for solid waste.
Yes.
What we're trying to do is not charge late fees on the October bill. That was on September's bill, right?
Question I have for you, sir, is
Yes.
this. Why not, I also asked the clerk, do you not look at the postmark when it's stamped to say, I've tried to get it in on time? They said they can't be responsible for that. It's not here on, at this time. That's it. You get billed, get done. That's not acceptable.
That has certainly been the policy of the town for a long time. And that, yes, we could look at that. Not every letter comes through with a clear postmark. It's not 100% certain guarantee that we'd be able to figure it out. But, you know, if we're into this process several months from now and we're still having these issues, that might be an alternative to look at. I don't want to go there immediately because that adds a lot to our processing time of matching envelopes and checks, double checking things. You know, I would rather improve or speed up our process a little bit so that we can get the bills out a little bit earlier than we have traditionally, which is what we were able to do for November's bill.
My question is this, that in a case where you have, you know, 15th, the 1st to the 15th, can't they be pushed out to the 20th?
The difficult, again, the way our process has always been is that when we get the meters read at the middle of the month, we verify the numbers we spend, we then start that process. So the bills go out hopefully before the 1st of the month. When a bill is not paid, we then have a shut-off date of the 26th. So that's 10 days past the due date. Pushing the due date pushes that cutoff into the next month. And so we have a day or two of leeway, I guess, between the due date, cutoff date, data generation, and getting the bills out. Moving it a week, 5 days, puts us into the following month before we can send out the next set of bills.
This is the bill for September,
Yes.
dated 9/1.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Due date 9/30.
Yep.
All right. I complied by sending it before the 30th.
Certainly make that argument.
Well,
And I think our policy is that we would disagree because we didn't get it by the 30th.
well, I did not pay the late fee. I don't plan to pay the late fee. Because if I pay it on a reasonable time, well, the thing was, I addressed that to the clerk and he said, well, that's not our problem. That's the mentality of, or how the board is going to treat that. That's not acceptable.
Do board members have any comments?
I think that maybe someone can reach out to Mr. Janice about the late fee. And I do think that after we heard the concerns from the October bill, I do think that the process has been improved. I know I received my bill on the 1st of the month, and as long as that can continue, I think that at least resolves that particular issue, but there is still the particular issue of the post office, knowing that it is going to be holiday time. And, you know, I think we said up here before, last year I sent my Christmas cards the weekend after Thanksgiving, and some of them arrived in March.
Ms. Sharp, I'll share this with you. About 3 years ago, I mailed the town taxes from across the street, had them hand canceled at the desk. And in January, I noticed that the check had not cleared. And I was told when I called that they had not received it. And as of the next day, I was going to be charged interest. If I mail something on the 15th, it'll be delivered by the 31st. It's 15 days. And not to belabor this, that check has never been received by this town. And I mailed that out with state, federal taxes also. I'm not trying to belabor the post office, but they can't deliver the mail. How are we supposed to pay it?
That's why we have alternative ways to pay. Pay online. Some folks don't have access to that. Again, I'm not making excuses for the mail part of it, but that's a reality of what we're dealing with right now. And so we have to adjust to that. Hopefully with some of the changes that Rich talked about with the timing. Of course, this is new, and like anything new, you're going to have some snafus. Certainly, I think it's very fair for us to refund you your late fee for certain. I know you're not going to pay it anyway, but
Right.
take that off.
You know,
Take that
Mark,
off
I'm
your
not.
system.
I
Right.
know that.
Yeah, so that's fine. I understand. But I'm just saying, I think patience and, prudent in this case. If we're having this issue 6 months from now, I think we're talking about a different story, but there are alternate ways to make payments. And again, the post office has been a problem in my business. I mean, people order checks and they don't get them for 30, 40 days. I mean, I clearly understand the angst, the anger there, but I think there are alternatives to that with us.
One thing I think we ought to add as well is that we've added additional methods, but also we've got the drop boxes. So
But
for me, if I'm going to make a payment to the town, I either use a drop box or I drop it here. And we've made this convenient for people who can't get out, ours mobile. But if I'm going to walk across the street, put it in the mailbox there to mail it, I would have not. A lot of people are using this drop box. We're seeing a good number of people. And you're right, not everybody's going to do it online. We understand that.
and even if you left it in your personal mailbox at home, they pick up the mail there. And if it's, delayed for some reason, I just think that to cut it to 15 days versus 30 doesn't cut it. As it was previously till the end of the month.
Any other comments from board members? Thank you, Mr. Chanis, for bringing this to our attention. Mr. Rodner, keep looking into it and see if we can improve the situation.
But we are always working on that.
Are the other members here in-house online who would like to make any comments to this report? If not, we'll close the public comment section. Next item, let's see. West College Avenue gathering design. Kathleen?
I'm here tonight to follow up with the presentation that was done last week. And just to see if you had any more questions, and then to request that you approve the concept of the design for the patio, so that we can move forward with the idea of the project, so we can actually move forward to looking at engineering and construction and raising money, all that good stuff.
And, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
and just to confirm, and I know I confirmed before, but with the whole board here, that we're approving the concept. Following the engineer coming on board, we will see a final design.
Yeah, there'll have to be construction drawings and an engineering type thing, so that'll change some of the aspects of it, but yes, you would see another drawing.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Captain, I'm sorry, I was able to join remotely last week, but I couldn't hear what was going on. That's okay. I think the systems all across the county were having trouble because several other people told the same thing. I think it's a great design. I think it's very interesting. I think it's got some good aspects to it. It's got some parts about it that I'm sure folks had some questions. And I was just wondering very quickly, what were some of the questions people had last week?
Honestly, I don't think there were very many.
Well, some of the questions that was just the infrastructure, there's a big utility lines, the AT&T switch station here. And is that gonna prohibit us from doing much, changing of the terrain? Or are we gonna cover up optic lines that eventually might have to be dug up and we've done something for naught?
It looked like we were going to raise this platform. Now we weren't going to be digging anywhere.
Right now, I think when we met with Josh and talked to him, kind of walked the site with him, between him and the other engineer that was with him, there's several ways we can actually create the patio. You can actually not touch the asphalt at all and just build upon the asphalt and raise it up. You can just dig where you need to. So we need a water line, and we also want to move the electricity from where the meter is at the AT&T parking lot and move it up to the platform itself. So those kind of things, but then you would just target where you want to do those things, taking in mind whatever is already in the ground.
I'm sure there's some safety concerns about the bollards right along Williamson Avenue. Those are going to be of size and strength that, and a little bit about position. I see we've added one extra bollard, or actually two extra bollards. And I like the way that we moved them a little further down. I guess that would be north on Williamson. Simply because if people drive along that road, they're going to be attracted by what's going on over there at the at this space, and just to protect those citizens fully from somebody who just may wander.
It'll be curb and guttered too, so they're just kind of an extra addition. We also the committee, when they met and they talked about it, they talked about adding lights as well, so the bollards would actually be lit. So you're kind of lighting up space as well to make that car kind of, oh, hey, there's something there that I'm not supposed to drive in.
Lights and receptacle.
Yeah, well, the receptacles are on the back end, closer to the stage.
You can't have enough receptacles.
No, you can't.
You can't have enough closets, you know that over. So I mean, to have receptacles and all those bollards and strategic points up and down both sides is just going to pay us dividends long. Widening the sidewalk, we'll have people walking across that area when it's a heavy traffic, something's going on in that space. We may think long-term about considerations for how would we handle that, because people are still going to have to get up and down that sidewalk no matter what's going on there. The planners on the opposite side of the street, we talked with the university,
They were part of the committee, and Jeff's sitting right behind me.
I saw him, but I didn't want to put him on the spot. I was doing it to you. But planners are going to be okay right there. Moving it to one pedestrian crosswalk going to be okay.
We're still working on the crosswalk. Trying to figure out the best place for it. We shifted it. The original design actually had it from where the keyhole exited the campus and went straight across. Taking in some input that we got, we actually shifted it down, so it would be where if you're on the road, it'd be the very first crosswalk as you're coming across the railroad track. We would actually want to keep that one and widen it, and then extend the planters all the way down the rest of the thing and remove the other crosswalk. From a pedestrian standpoint, you get one focal area where they're supposed to walk. The jaywalking is jaywalking. There's nothing really stop with that, but it gives them a bit of a focal point. It also, from a traffic perspective, you don't have the stop and start. So you're not getting through the one saying, great, they're done, and then starting, oh, great, stop. So kind of trying to alleviate that as well and smooth that traffic pattern out.
It's probably impossible to do, but the other would be to move that crosswalk to where it doesn't come into the middle of that open space and it hits the corner or someplace up one of the other corners or right there.
Mhm.
So you kind of alleviate that traffic walking right into that entertainment space. So I'm sure y'all talked about all that. I appreciate it. Love the design. I think it looks great. And the direction they're going, I like the way they're going. Thank you, Ken.
Do we have a motion to approve the West College Avenue gathering space design?
I'll second it.
Got a motion? A second, any discussion? Who's second? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Mark's the motion, Davis is the second.
Thank you.
Second one.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Bid award for East Haggard Waterline Design Service. Mr. Roder?
As we talked last week, we went through talked about replacing the water line in East Haggard for many years. And we are at a point where we are trying to get that accomplished over the next several years. Working with the university, working with DOT, because they've got some work they want to do. We're trying to dovetail all these projects together. We went out for what's called a request for qualifications, which we contacted certain multiple engineering firms, asked for their qualifications to do the work. It wasn't a bid. It was trying for us to discern what who the best company would be to do this work for us. We went through that process, ultimately selected Ally Williams out of Burlington. Then sat down with Ally Williams and came up with negotiated a contract price that would take us from design work through permitting, bidding for construction and construction oversight costs as this project moves forward. So what's before you tonight is a request to go ahead and approve awarding that contract to Ally Williams. And I can get to the price on it. 90. So that would be the contract price.
Any questions for Mr. Roder? You have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just say that I'm glad that it's an engineering firm that is familiar with the town. I think that that's going to benefit us, as we go through that process.
Have a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Let's see, Pam, adoption ADA self-assessment.
Yes, sir. Last week, updated the board that this plan is complete and you provided a copy of it. This, of course, is a requirement from the federal government. Asking the board tonight for a motion to adopt the plan. We will start implementing some projects this fiscal year and probably come back to you in about 5 years for an update to the plan as we reassess the facilities and update based on improvements that have been made between now and then.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
What are some of the projects that we're going to start with this fiscal year?
We are looking at curb ramps primarily, and David Murphy, of course, was here last week. He's our Assistant Public Works Director. He and I are planning to sit down next week and look at, he has the plan includes a list of where those deficiencies are. And we're going to pull those apart, pull out what's on DOT rights of way and notify them. And then we'll look at priorities for town streets. We don't have a lot of money in the budget this year, but we're going to pick off some of those and then we'll add some other projects for the upcoming budget.
Are there grants to support this at all that we could look at applying for?
There are some DOT grants for those types of projects, the curb ramps that we can look at moving forward. They come around periodically and I don't think it's yearly. So we're going to look at those and see when the next round is. And of course, we'll look for any other.
And it's not always things you think of. To answer your question, Alderman Ray, was first project we undertook was fixing the front of the office here. We're seeking pricing on redoing the front entrance so that it's handicap accessible. That leads back to work in the parking lot for the handicap spaces and ramps and things like that. So I mean, this is a multi-year project, and my goal is to have money in the budget each year to work on a certain number of projects. You know, we're not going to get them all done right off the bat. It will take some time and investment.
Mr. Rogan, I saw that one of the areas was communications. What did we find in the area of communications that we need to improve on? I'm trying to think of what some of those might be.
Yep. What I term communication, including communications, is like our website. We found that the color schemes, well, there's two parts about it. When you are posting information on the website, it has to be accessible to people who have different abilities. So, you know, a lot of times when you click over a photo, you'll get a little notice about what it is. All of our photos aren't necessarily set up that way. The color scheme of the website, you end up with some light colors on slightly darker colors as opposed to sharp contrasts. So sometimes the text isn't as easy to read as it needs to be. So those are some, you know, those are some things that we need to work on. How we are set up to communicate with the public. In terms of this system, in terms of our phone system. And I haven't gotten through all the details of the plan. I've skimmed through it, but things like TTY services, you know, and I'm assuming that was called out, maybe it wasn't, but you know, that kind of service that we're, you know, we need to take a look at and figure out something we need to do here. Do we need to log into a service to have that provided? Those are things that, you know, some of the communication aspects.
One of the requirements of the plan is a grievance procedure, which we've already implemented so that we can take input from folks who see deficiencies and that we're notified of those that can take action. That'd be part of the communications effort.
And one thing I just apologize, you know, a lot of our crosswalks obviously are controlled by the buttons, but they're not necessarily designed for visually impaired or hearing impaired, are they?
No.
Is that something that's built into this plan? Because we have so many students and people who are walking, and I'm sure there's people handicapped as well that don't necessarily can hear when crossing's safe or not safe. So is that something that, I'm sure it's expensive?
Right. So, and I think David mentioned that last week that I don't know if they still do this exactly this way, but I know at UNCG, they used to have a sort of a chirping sound when you were able to walk so that folks that were vision impaired would know when that signal had changed. So it is expensive. And of course, we don't even have the electronic crosswalks at all our locations, but at those primary ones, especially here with the railroad track further creating a complication, that's something that we can certainly look at. So we'll get bids on that, and we'll start to prioritize what's doable and what makes the most impact moving forward.
And I think it's important, right? Some of those are DOT issues as well.
Absolutely.
So they're not necessarily our crossing systems. So
Murph said.
David just said, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, he said that they're working on the touch tone, and then we are prepared to deal with NCDOT on crossing signals, as most are NCDOT crosswalks. And I was also going to say to the crosswalks that especially this one that goes from this corner right here across to Cynthia Huffine's building, that one is so short. There's no way that you're ever going to make it from the corner here at Town Hall all the way over to the other side in the amount of time. I mean, even if you sprinted, I don't think you're going to make it. And I know that it's probably designed so that you get from the corner here to the railroad track and then from the railroad track to the other. But, you know, if you're thinking about ADA, someone, let's say someone is in a wheelchair or someone walks with a cane, that's a really short time frame for them to get across. And it's not exactly the safest place for someone to stand or to sit in a wheelchair right there next to the railroad track. And I would almost argue that some of those ballards that we're gonna get for the other location, that we should consider something right there in the walkway. Because, I mean, I know when I'm holding Lila Kate's hand, I mean, I feel like traffic is right next to me. And, you know, the students are walking 2 or 3 people wide. It seems like there's a safety concern in addition to not being long enough to get all the way across.
We will certainly notify them of that. It's a challenging, I did it today, as a matter of fact, and it is challenging to get across and abide by the crosswalk signals.
It's almost impossible unless you have all the time in the world. I mean, I sat through 3 lights the other day and the light never told me to walk. And finally I just walked.
And speaking of almost impossible, trying to do something in the railroads right away
Yeah.
can be a challenge.
I've told this story before, but our previous town manager, Beth Smith, went out there when the train came by and put the beam on it and sent them a bill for speeding through town. And the railroad paid it.
I would gladly sit there all day long and do it. I mean, that thing flies through here.
They do. Do we have a motion to adopt the ADA self-assessment and transition plan?
I'll make a motion.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Stein, I noticed you're with us tonight. Do you have any comments you'd like to make to the board? Thank you. Town managers report.
Okay. As I notified you folks earlier this afternoon, we are in the midst of a bit of a COVID outbreak amongst town employees that we are working on, and that's why last minute change with our auditors to decide to go Zoom rather than be. We're working on that and trying to keep that in line. We've instituted renewed institutional controls that we were using last summer, as far as cleaning protocols, temperature checks in the appropriate departments and that kind of thing. Applications for fire chief closed on Friday. We're now in the process of starting to go through those applications and narrowing the field for first round of interviews. We received 50 applications. Remind everybody to check the calendar, community section of our website for upcoming events for the next couple months. And just to highlight a couple that are coming up early in December, I think before our next meeting. December 3rd is Christmas in the Park. So everybody should make note of that and plan accordingly. And on the 4th is the tree lighting ceremony downtown, as well as our Santa Fun Fest, I believe is the terminology this year, because it's more than a run. So I just want to make sure people have those dates in mind as we move through the month of November. Not to skip Thanksgiving by any means, but that in mind. Veterans Day is Thursday. Office will be closed that day. Likewise, it'll be closed on Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving at the end of November.
Do we have any special guests coming to Christmas at the park?
I suspect the Jolly One himself might be there.
That's what I was hoping. He's got an invite, I guess.
The mayor.
He'll be there.
So,
Yes.
so the answer would be yes. Maybe the mayor-elect. It's our first meeting in December.
It's the 6th.
6.
So it'll be-
So Christmas in the Park is prior.
So the mayor and perhaps the mayor-elect will be there.
sure hope so.
And I guess wading into politics, which I try to avoid. Congratulations to Woman Sharp on her election as our next mayor, and new council, new board members, Randy Orwig and Stephanie Borland. So,
Thank you. Comments from board members, Mr. Green?
Yeah, again, I'll echo saying congratulations, Emily, and working with Randy and Stephanie. Certainly miss the mayor and Davis very much. Been a long road with you guys, so we'll talk about it. Yeah, congratulations. Alva, congratulations. I'm envious. But I tell you, we've been very fortunate to have you as our leader in the fire department, and not only obviously a great leader, but a stand-up man as well. And we're certainly going to miss you there. But well-deserved retirement, and hope you enjoy it very much. Thank you. Misty, appreciate everything you've done. Echo with being on the budget committee, how much you do for our town and that, and it's we're going to miss you very much. Again, I know heading to the mountains for a retreat area as well, so congratulations to you there, but certainly will miss you as well. Thank you.
Ray?
I guess Mark's starting out.
We stole our thunder.
Stole all the
Right,
thunder.
right. We're echoing, but I'll be the echo chamber with it. Alva, ever since I was newly elected in 19, and you graciously opened your arms as a fire chief and introduced yourself and opened up your fire department to the community to learn, and you taught me, and we've spoken many times coming up here on Thursdays, and I've really enjoyed the company. Enjoy retirement, and congratulations. Misty, I talked to you before the meeting. I guess I should have known I had a chance to speak here, but I'll repeat it. I've really enjoyed your time, our time, getting to know each other on those Thursdays. The time at the restaurants, you and Brian coming up there. We're really going to miss you, not only here in a professional manner, but on a community level and on a friend level. But congratulations, enjoy the mountains. You deserve it. Mr. Shanus, thanks for coming. You're a neighbor, you're right down the road, and bringing up from me, right, on Westgate. The water bill is definitely you're not the only one that has had issues with this. Our phones at the town hall has been blowing up, according to our staff, when it went out. And likewise, the first bill that came out was for me. I got it on the Saturday as well. Like what Mark said earlier, we are trying something new. We want to do that water bill monthly to help alleviate some financial burden for residents, and to catch if we do have water leaks. Right, it'll be a little easier instead of that 57 to 60 day. Trust, the board did decide to waive the late fee of this first go round, knowing that this is a new thing. And trust that the board, if this continues, I'm not speaking for the board, but if we continue to see this 6 months or so down the road and not getting this right, we're going to take a critical look at it, because it's not fair for able to go out and then not be able to pay it, right, or not be able to be recognized as paying on time. Other than that, I look forward to seeing everybody December 4th. And another plug, I'm sure Emily's going to do it, but the service leagues down here at the community center, I'll be working with her husband, sipping some wine, or pouring some wine, not sipping, pouring
That's
some
right,
wine
you're pouring.
in a pink apron for Christmas on the 19th. Yep. So, but other than that, yeah, look, I've enjoyed my time with you, Davis, and you, Mayor Tolley. I'm sure we'll talk about this.
Green, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
When I moved here in 76, the town hall was in the middle of the block up the street. Had the police, had the water department, all the services, even the police department, which consisted of 3 officers, counting the chief of police. It's changed a whole lot. And they moved the police around the corner. It was around where Crouch's office was, the dentist. That's where the police, the police department was. And I like this town. I really do. And I think, I remember Beth Schmidt, also administrator. And I just hope that you can understand where I'm coming from. Because I'm sure I'm not the only resident that's run into this problem.
We have 6 of them right here who ran into the same problem. So we've definitely heard that loud and clear.
I ain't moving, Jerry. I've had 4 addresses to that house.
You're right. Let's see, Ms. Sharp.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out to vote. Thanks. Tony, you forgot about me.
You remembered everybody else.
Sure did.
Municipal elections typically do see low turnout. So you never expect for, a huge number. Certainly would have been nice if we would have seen that line as you pull up like we did a year ago, but it was good. I thought that the numbers were pretty good for the fact that really they were only voting for one thing. I can't, be more thankful and, be more honored and to be selected as the next mayor. And because Mark got to go first, he got to steal all of the kind words that any of us can say. But thank you to Chief Sizemore and thank you to Misty for all that you've done and brought to your roles. And there's big shoes to fill. I told the mayor the same thing when we walked in, that he was leaving some big shoes to fill, and I asked him what size he wore just so I would know how big I had to fill. That's all for me.
Alice.
Thank you. Yeah, as Emily said, congratulations, Emily, on your fine. win.
Thanks, Monty.
I will do that. And as she's already said, covered a lot of things, but I do want to say that I think it's a testament when someone retires or leaves, that the organization is better off than it was when they got here. And Al, I knew you when you weren't anybody. I knew you in high school. I was a little snotty-nosed kid just like me. Who would have known that you would have become the man that you have become? And all you've done to our community, and you've given back so many. People will miss you, but we know you're not going to be far, a stranger. And Misty, likewise, it's tough being one person work for a municipality, but when your spouse works there as well, it's more stress. And we appreciate the work that you've done to make Elon a better place, a fiscally sound town that, as our report indicated, we're in good shape. And for that, you're to be commended for that. And I want to thank all the rest of the staff and police department for doing what they're doing now under some circumstances that they didn't anticipate. And it's amazing how when things get tough, people rally around. And I'm proud to be, as Mr. Channing said, I'm proud to be a resident of Elon. And appreciate you being here tonight. I think it's important that town members do speak up, show up, and share what's on your mind, because otherwise we're not going to know what's important. So it's a problem that you mentioned that we're well aware of. We'll continue to work on it and hopefully come up with a good solution.
Yeah, Jerry knows that I have no qualms in telling it like it is.
I'm gonna give Emily your phone number. Mr. Chanis and I have talked through the years about that.
A few times, yes. I've got his cell number.
Yes, sir. Well, first, I want to start by thanking our veterans. It's a special day coming up this week. We've got veterans both in our town and on our staff, and for the service that they provided and the sacrifices they made. I don't think there's nothing to say about that. So I want to thank our veterans and lead off with that. I want to give my condolences to Quinn. Haven't forgotten to congratulate Emily. He's got another 4 years to try and live, or 2 years to try and live that one down. So good luck with that. Congratulations, Emily, and the new board members on y'all's win, and good luck to all of you folks. And we'll have a chance to talk more about that next week. Alvin and Misty, Everything everybody said has been more than kind words. It's heartfelt sentiment. Y'all have been more than just people that we work with. You've been friends, you've been neighbors, you've just been people we relied on, people we've gotten to know. It's almost like a family member moving away. So I hope you feel guilty about that. You don't, we'll try and make you feel guilty.
We still have time.
That's right. We still have time left. I want to also recognize our staff for what Rich mentioned earlier about we're having a little bit of a flare up here with the COVID. That puts a burden, that shifts the burden around, and nothing ever slows down. Things that are taking place are still taking place. The issues that we have are still happening, and somebody's got to take care of that. And I really want to thank our staff, because I know somebody is stepping up and helping to make sure that things are run smooth. So I want to recognize those folks for what they're doing. I also want to thank Quinn for letting me make my mark on the minutes before I leave. I mean, let me second almost everything, or at least make the motion. Gives me one last chance to get my name in the minutes. And my last attempt at just kind of self-recognition is going to say my birthday was last month. I wasn't here to be able to remind you folks of that, but I did. If you want to include it in the minutes, it's quite all right with me.
Didn't you have another birthday? Oh, no, it's a grandkid. I think you announced the birthday. Okay,
Maybe
yeah.
On my grandson's birthday or my granddaughter's birthday, I always take that opportunity to get them recognized in the. So other than that, I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Emily.
Thank you.
I think you will do an outstanding job. I think you're well prepared to lead this community. Also, congratulations to Misty and Alvin. Y'all have been two wonderful employees for this town. And I'd like to show my appreciation for the whole staff. I think they continue to do a great job during this COVID, and I appreciate it. Without that, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Have that